welcome. Today I will be talking about the reason why I became vegan. This is a question that I get a lot because people mistakenly think that being vegan means eating salad, being deprived, being sad, because basically we do not enjoy the art of cuisine. That's actually not the case at all. Basically, my story goes back to, 1998, when I graduated, and I celebrated basically by going to Germany. And I went to a restaurant. Of course, when you go to Germany, you eat fish, right? Well, I don't ask me why, but I went instead. I had all my sausages at the time because I was still eating meat. And basically, I had once we went to a restaurant, and I decided to get some salmon. And basically, I got food poisoning. And the problem started, so I had to go to the hospital. They ran all the tests, etc. And for 2 years, basically, my stomach went completely wild. And that's when I could eat only, but literally only, vegetables. So it was more like a necessity rather than a choice to become vegan. But I must say that even though I was going to specialists, etc., it was not a conscious choice. It was more like, okay, I eat what I can eat. And also the specialists basically ran tests, etc., and the aim was to go back to normal. However, I must say that I then decided to go into a vegetarian diet. It was more like a cheating vegetarian because sometimes I was eating some meat, not that much. I've not eaten red meat for nearly, I would say 15 years. And then basically I went into microbiotic. So I just started to experiment up to when a few years ago I decided to go back eating normal. And my stomach went totally and utterly crazy. So I started eating red meat again. The first time it was absolutely horrendous. I was like, oh, this tastes awful. Also, I went back eating fish and all the rest of it, and I was feeling absolutely terrible. I was bloated, but I gave that to the fact that lots of things were going on in my life with the job. It was very stressful. I was working in finance and all the rest of it, so I'm a legal professional. So there was a recession and all the rest of it. Then I was living in London at the time, and I came back to Milan. I'm actually, as you can hear from my accent, I'm originally Italian. I have never been a great cook, not even, by chance or by mistake. I did my stuff, but nothing particularly fancy. And when I came back to Italy, basically the situation got worse with my stomach. So I was like, I got to do something about it. And I went again to a specialist. Up to now, basically, most of the doctors, notwithstanding the situation with my stomach was quite problematic. Nausea, vomit, I couldn't eat lots of stuff, etc. The idea was, well, as long as you can eat and you look healthy, it's fine. And also because if I was running blood tests, things were okay, so they couldn't see any issue with that. Finally, I got a different GP, and immediately she said, I want you to go for a gastroscopy. And I was like, yes, finally, because I've been asking for gastroscopy for years. Probably I'm the only person that goes around saying, can I have a gastroscopy? And people were like, no, it's too invasive. I must say that that's not the case. It's actually, okay, it's not a pleasant test, but it's not even this crazy thing. So basically, I ran all the tests with the NHS in Milan. The NHS in Milan is fabulous. And I spoke with a gastroenterologist. And basically, they didn't find anything wrong. But due to the symptoms, he suggested that I got rid of some ingredients. It was not actually the meat, funnily enough. It was more like tea. I used to drink lots and lots and lots of green tea because it's good for you. In reality, it's not. So because if you drink too much green tea, it's going to eat on your iron levels. In fact, I had anemia before I got vegan, by the way, because of the high consumption of tea. Then, of course, I couldn't eat anything spicy, but it's something that I couldn't do anyway. They took away the chocolate because it can be highly inflammatory, even though afterwards I was in a position to reintroduce bits and pieces. And also he said, well, try to consume more vegetables and more fruit, in particular pineapple, which is very, very good. So I started juicing because at first I went to the supermarket and you see these horrendous, absolutely dreadful juices, and they are packed full with sugar. I'm not a sugar person. I mean, I've not eaten, I've not bought any kind of, the normal white sugar in the past 20 years. So when I first got these juices, even though they were saying, oh, these are the best ones, I was like, this thing is absolutely disgusting. I can't stand this thing. I mean, it's too sugary, and I was feeling even worse. I was like, gosh, what the heck is going on here? So I went and bought a juicer. I got a centrifugal one. I will be talking about all the difference in juices and machines, etc. in future videos. But I said, well, let's start with the cheapest option because it was more like a trial and error. It was more like an experiment. I got a centrifugal one and I started becoming a juice fan. At first, I was grabbing some recipes from the internet, but I said, well, you know what, let's do it properly. So I went to a nutritionist, and she said, your diet is fundamentally balanced. She just tweaked it a little bit. She agreed that purchasing the juices from the supermarket is one of the worst ideas ever because they are absolutely trash. So I started basically going through my diet, which was not to lose weight or anything. It was more like to try to find something that was going to make my stomach happy. And I realized that when I was not eating meat, because I could eat meat twice a week, and it was fish once a week. When I realized that when I was eating lots of legumes, cereals, and vegetables, I didn't have any problem. When I went to the gastroenterologist, he prescribed lots of medication. I am the kind of person that doesn't take anything. So for me, going from nothing to 3 or 4 different tablets a day was a lot. I was like, gosh, it's not possible. I mean, I'm young and I have to take all these things. It's not reasonable. So I said, I got to find a solution. And that's when basically with the diet and realizing that when I was not eating meat and fish or anything that was animal derived, my stomach was fantastically happy. I said, well, I'm gonna go vegan. And that's when basically the journey started. So, I started going around and looking for reliable information. Of course, everyone has got their own ideas. I spoke with my family doctor. I actually, then speaking with other vegans, I realized that there are some doctors that are against the vegan diet. Mine is not. So she said, well, you don't have to take any kind of supplements. We run blood tests every 3 months. If there is something that is not working out, of course, we will take action. It means taking the supplement for that specific period of time, which is a short one. But I must say that I've been vegan now for a long time and I've never had any problem. Why? Because I've got a balanced diet. So I will be talking about in my videos about my journey fundamentally, which is something that I hope is going to be helpful for you, because a lot of people ask me, how did you transition from a normal diet to a vegan diet? Was it difficult? What do you have to look at? What is the difference between blending and juicing? How did you substitute the meat? Do you miss the meat? These are all questions that I get on an ongoing basis. I must say that probably for me it was quite easy to go cold turkey, also because I've been mostly vegetarian for 15 years, which is quite a long time. So I actually had to start eating meat for about a couple of years. Don't ask me why I did it, because I'm still wondering what I was thinking. I don't know. But again, the body is a fabulous machine and basically said, this is not good for you, you got to do something about it. And for me, as I said, it was probably easier going, into a vegan diet literally like this because of my health. If I do not eat something that my stomach appreciates, it goes absolutely wild. Going wild means nausea, vomiting, to a point where I was actually waking up 3 or 4 times a night, every single night, because I had to drink some water to get rid of the acid reflux. That's not normal, absolutely not. Since I went vegan, I actually have stopped taking any kind of medication. I went back to my GP and I was like, she said, you need your prescription. I said, no, I don't have anything anymore. She was like, really? I said, yeah, no problem whatsoever. I also ran some tests to see whether I'm celiac. The answer is no. I got a few things checked to see whether, there are some intolerances, etc. But I said, well, I don't care about checking out if I'm intolerant to meat or to fish or to whatever, because I am not going to eat the stuff anymore in my life. Of course, there is also the ethical side of being vegan. I actually watched a few documentaries that are genuinely, when you see how chicken are basically treated and killed, how cows are exploited. In all honesty, I was like, oh god, this is really bad. Again, this is not to point the finger at people that still eat fish and meat. It's a personal choice, but there are studies like the China study, which I strongly suggest to read, that clearly show that a plant-based diet is actually what we need. There are a lot of doctors. In Italy, for example, we got Dr. Veronesi, who's an expert in cancer prevention, that clearly states that a vegetarian diet, not even vegan, but vegetarian, is a great first step to prevent diseases like cancer, diseases like strokes, diseases like diabetes. As I said, I am not a doctor, so I rely on tests and I rely on what these big and important doctors say. But there is clearly a medical history and medical research that show that a plant-based diet works. And I am a proof of that because, as I said, since I went plant-based, I don't have any symptom whatsoever. Literally, I feel much better. I got much more energy. I've not had any kind of acid reflux. I feel absolutely great. Also, a lot of people tell me, how come that you are 43 and you look like you're 25? And I'm like, well, it's also lifestyle genes. I also take care of myself, but I believe that having been vegetarian for 15 years had its own advantages. And I must say that since I actually went vegan, my skin looks brighter, I got much more power of concentration, and I feel so much better. I have never had problems with my weight, but since I went vegan, I actually lost 5 kilos, and it was because my body was bloated and it was inflamed because of the trash fundamentally that I was putting in my body. And I'm not the kind of person who goes to McDonald's. I've been to McDonald's twice in my life. I hate McDonald's. If it was for me, that would be all shut down. So even though I thought that I was eating well, in fact, I was not eating well for my body. So this channel is going to be about my journey. It's going to be about what I found out, how I transitioned, and I hope that this information is going to be good for you and useful for you as well. Please feel free to share your story, because I think that it's important to share the message that a plant-based diet can be a solution for a lot of people that are experiencing issues with their health. Of course, the importance of being monitored by a doctor or by a specialist is key, so don't try to do anything DIY. I don't think that going DIY is a great idea. But this is my story. I'm very happy to be vegan, and I always smile when people tell me, does it mean that you eat salad? And I'm like, no. But now I can say, you know what, check out my website and my YouTube channel, because I will be sharing some more recipes. As I said, I am not a massive cook, but since becoming vegan, I've actually started cooking, and there are lots of non-vegan friends. Of course, when I invite them to eat, I have to be sensible to the fact that not everyone may like seitan or these kind of things, but sometimes I make things that are vegan, and also people that are not vegan are like, oh, this is absolutely super tasty. And I said, well, you know what, it's done without eggs, it's done without butter. And they go, really? But therefore being vegan doesn't mean eating things that are boring and plain. No, being vegan doesn't mean plain Jane. Thank you so much for watching.